Indiana, we'll bring him in. A great Hoosier, the one and only Ian Beckles. You agree with that, man? As far as like guys getting, snaps, more snaps, because again, Rashad McCants saying like, oh, if I would have played 15 more minutes, I would have averaged 23. And DeMarcus Cousins, a all-star, is looking at him like, that's not the way it works, dog. You've seen that, I'm sure, in your career too, where a guy, if I got more snaps, there's a reason why you don't get more snaps, right?
Yeah, I like the take, and not some people may think it might equate to that, but it doesn't work that way. A great example is like a defensive lineman. If a defensive lineman plays 15 plays and has a certain amount of sacks, if he plays twice as many plays, doesn't mean he's gonna have twice as many sacks
Right.
because he'll be that much more worn out. I mean, if
Mm-hmm.
you took me as an offensive lineman, you go, Ian, you're gonna play 15 plays. Boy, I can go all out. Like, I mean, I love when the average person says he has to go 110%. Well, you see how many plays in a row you can go 110%. But if you could only play 15 plays, you might be able to go full out. But if you have
Right.
to play 60 plays, you better reserve yourself at times. So the equation is it's not quite that even. I thought it was a good take.
Yeah, for sure. And you see that more and more. And the NBA is the only sport that has that stat. I'm pretty sure where, all right, this many points per 48, and it's just like, well, nobody's playing 48 minutes, and if you're not playing that many minutes, there's a reason. So
Right.
to have a stat like that, I think it's really kind of it doesn't really make much sense.
But
Bucks
for
OT,
somebody not to be playing, the question is why aren't you playing
right?
more? And your liabilities, what is your liabilities leading to while
Mm-hmm.
you're scoring these other points?
And it happens with hockey. People are like, oh, he plays 9 to 12 minutes a night. He deserves more. Well, yeah, maybe if he plays more, he's got more of a chance of turning the puck over or not playing as well defensively. And you can't be willing to put a guy out there. That's the reason why he only plays that many minutes a night. Bucks OTA starts today, or it started today. Baker Mayfield was out there. How big is it to be able to have? And listen, it's not. And I don't want to ask the other side of it because Tristan wasn't out there. Levante, Mike, Chris, like I know it's voluntary, right? But just the fact that Baker was out there on a day where he didn't necessarily have to be out there, what does that mean to you as far as a guy that just follows the Buccaneers? Again, it's not if he's not there, it's not the end of the world. But I think it shows some of the younger guys like, hey, our leaders out here.
Well, I mean, like you said, Levante and Tristan not being there, I get it.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, if Tristan Wirfs being there, Levante David being there won't improve our team. Baker Mayfield being there will improve our team. He's a quarterback. He's the leader. He's the guy everybody's going to look to. Rest Tristan, rest Levante. But Baker needs to be present. And listen, to me, to be a leader, you have to be present. All right. And for him to be that guy, and this is what I love about Baker Mayfield. I kind of saw it with Trent Dilfer at the beginning of his career. He was very childish and he did some childish things. And, I pulled him over a couple times and talked to him about some things. And then later on in his career, I heard him say how childish he was when he was young. And I heard him say how much he improved and how he became a better teammate. We're watching Baker Mayfield grow up as a man in front of us because he wasn't really a leader, not really, until he got here. But when he's turning into a leader, and if he puts 3, 4, 5 more years like this, we're gonna remember Baker Mayfield anyways. But he's stamping his mark on this community in a positive way.
I feel like Baker has not really made a misstep since he's been here in Tampa Bay. I feel like he's done so many good things on and off the field. I don't think you could have asked for a better union between Tampa Bay and Baker Mayfield.
You're probably right about that. And listen, there's certain NFL players and professional athletes in general, they get evaluated differently. Okay, the, we thought Jameis Winston was the devil himself for standing on a chair and yelling out something at a time where everybody else was doing it. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Like your son, if my son did it, I smack him in the back of his head. I go, that's stupid, but that's it. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Like we look at athletes and we look at them as they're bad people when they're 21-year-old kids just doing 21-year-old kid type things. You know what I mean? You look back at Baker Mayfield, he was just immature. That's all. He was just immature, and he wasn't ready. You look at the way he was acting in college. He did some immature
Mhm.
crap. Okay, really, really immature. All right. You look back at it. He's not going to do that now. He's better than that. So I just like that we sat and watched him develop as a man, and at the end of his career, Tampa Bay is going to be a big part of what he has going on, and I hope he ends his career here because I hope he stays healthy because it's kind of nice going into a football season and looking forward, not having to worry about your quarterback.
I think the team as a whole, like I look at this team and they really need to address the defensive side of the ball. Hassan Reddick is a guy that they addressed in free agency. They go draft this Walker kid and Roberts and two defensive backs as well. I mean, this team needed to focus on defense, and that's exactly what they're doing. Where are you at as far as optimism when it comes to going into the season? I know the rosters aren't finalized. We have a decent idea of what this team is about, but I mean, you and I have been on the air. You and I have talked about certain years, and we're going into a season. We don't really know what to expect for the Buccaneers, but I feel like this is maybe as stable as this franchise has been for, maybe ever. And you going into the season, I'd be surprised if they didn't make the playoffs. I feel really good about the Bucs going into the season. What say you?
I think I'm positive that they make the playoffs. They have been making the playoffs in a some way or another from technicalities, but it is what it is. That's the rules. Um, Offensively, I don't see them taking a step back. That being said, crazy things happen in football. Like Mike
Mhm.
Evans is 5 years past being old. Okay, Chris Godwin, we don't really know what Chris Godwin's going to be about. He doesn't either. Um, there's a couple question marks, but I really believe if Baker Mayfield stays healthy, we'll be okay offensively. Defensively, every year teams talk about going out and improving our defense. When the long and short of it is, you really have to improve from within. Okay, the people that are there again got to be better. That's it.
Mhm.
We're talking about both inside guys who have all the potential in the world to be the best two inside guys in all of football. Do that. All right. Now they show signs here and there, but let's see some consistency. We got to get some rush from the outside, and the rest of it will come. Will just kind of develop with the pass rush. We've always been pretty good at stopping the run. I think they took a little step back last year. I haven't looked at
Right.
statistically, but they didn't look the same last year stopping the run. But if they can rush that passer, if they could, that's the thing. If you could rush the passer, the rest of it's almost irrelevant. If you give me three cats
Mhm.
that can rush, boy, that makes everybody better around them. And we haven't seen that since probably Shaq Barrett in his prime, which was about 3 years ago.
Ian, last week during the NFL league meetings, NFL executive vice president Troy Vincent announced that a panel of retired offensive linemen will determine which current offensive lineman is named the protector of the year each season. During the announcement, Vincent credited Bills left tackle Deion Dawkins, who's, I don't know if you follow him, Beck, but he is the man. He's
Mhm.
awesome. He's a huge hockey fan. He goes to the Sabres games all the time. He's banging on the glass. They credited Deion with getting the ball rolling by noting that there was no postseason award honoring offensive lineman, and Dawkins shared his pride in having a hand in making sure his fellow Brockers will getting. He's so excited that he's just in, even though like he'll be up obviously for contention, but he's so excited that like he was part of them putting this into like how cool is that as a former offensive lineman to be able to, I'm sure you're one of those position groups that maybe doesn't always have their voice heard, but this is one of those where not only is your voice heard, but now you're going to get recognition. And you and I speak a lot about Hall of Fame candidacy. This is going to factor into one of the tougher position groups, going forward. As much as all pros and Pro Bowls, you win this. This is
Mhm.
going to be like Defensive Player of the Year and Offensive Player of the Year and things like that.
Well, with social media and the internet and all kind of things, I think people know a little bit more now about offensive linemen than they did in the past. Like we all know, the offensive linemen are the smartest people on the field. And listen, that's we're joking, but that's a literal thing. Like
Yes.
I guess they test the best in the Wonderlic and are just the most intelligent. If you really think about it, Jay, and I have to think about it because I'm coaching football right now at Chamberlain High School. I'm offensive line. may be the most unnatural position in all of sports. You can do every other sport in your driveway. You've never seen anybody offensive lining in your driveway. Okay? It's just not something you do. You can play basketball, you can swing a golf club,
Mhm.
you can swing a baseball, you can throw a base. Nobody walks around, kick stepping, and unless you're a lunatic.
You've seen
So
those, right? You've seen those gender reveals where it becomes a
absolutely,
guy, and then you see the guy doing the best. That's the
absolutely
funny, and the reason why it's so funny because, like you said, it's unnatural. You don't see shit like
correct.
that.
And listen, offensive linemen, and you've heard me joke about it before, but if you really think about it, you could be dumb as a stump and be 6'7" with long arms, and put your hand on the ground. I go chase that guy, number 12. Go get him, and we're gonna give you lots of money. It's not deeper than that.
Mhm.
Go get him. Offensive line. No, let's work on your stance. Let's work on your split. Let's work on your angles, your drop step. Then the second foot has to go down the crotch, and your hands placement has to be here. And you have to get your head outside. And on a 70 protection, you got to squeeze. And on a 72 protection, it's a lot. Okay, so you can't do that if you're dumb. Okay, quarterback and offensive lineman, I don't think you can do as you're dumb. I don't think you can be a DB either. And the rest of them, I'm not trying to talk anybody down.
Mhm.
But I'm just saying, I'm happy that offensive linemen are now starting to get recognition. And it used to be like offensive linemen, yeah, they're cool and everything, but now offensive linemen are getting paid more than everybody else because they realize that you can find a good receiver in the draft. It's not that hard, okay?
Mhm.
But to find an offensive lineman in the draft, bro, it is hard to do. And I just the worth of an offensive lineman. You rarely see offensive linemen even going in free agency. They don't let them go nowhere. If you have a good offensive lineman, he's a smart guy, know the system, he stays put. So I'm happy that they're starting to get some recognition, and this award is only something positive, and I'll bet my house Tristan Wirfs wins it if he stays healthy.
Yeah, it's funny that you say that too, because the Giants, they've invested a lot of draft capital in the offensive line, and it just doesn't always work out. I mean, even if you use first round picks, second round picks, it doesn't mean that those guys are going to be good. Like you have to go to a good situation, you got to have a good coach, and you have to be talented, right? You got to be able to convert. I mean, let's not forget Tristan Wirfs was the fourth tackle taken in the draft back then, right? I mean, you look at what Mekhi Becton did better when he slid to the inside playing with the Eagles, Jedrick Wills and Andrew Thomas, who really struggled out of the gates, then was really good with the Giants, outside of, that was when Tristan, I think Andrew Thomas was the second ranked left tackle the last year Tristan was at right tackle, and then he got hurt. So that's the other thing. Like guys got to stay healthy too, right?
Correct.
Looking at situations, I look at Atlanta right now, and this is another reason why I feel real confident about the Bucs is like Raheem Morris says today, I didn't see Kirk Cousins. You have all that money invested into one guy. Where do you think Kirk Cousins plays this year? Because I look at a team like Pittsburgh, I still find it very intriguing that are they really putting their eggs in the Aaron Rodgers basket? Like to think we just mentioned what we said it yesterday. Aaron Rodgers, we talk about him all the time, right? But you look at Baker Mayfield's there. Let's say Aaron Rodgers is the Pittsburgh Steelers. You're still not there. Like that can't be good. If you're Pittsburgh, do you look in and try to bring Kirk Cousins in? Because I think he's a better option than Mason Rudolph, Beck.
Well, I'm not sure you're not a better option than Mason Rudolph, but with Aaron Rodgers, we have to understand it's buyer beware. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, you're bringing in a ticking time bomb into your locker room. I mean, he's never just fit in anywhere, okay? I'm talking about with coaches. He's
Right.
disrupted coaches. He's disrupted organizations. He's disrupted a lot of things. So, not saying he can't spin that ball, but to me, Kirk Cousins would be a better fit because I just think Kirk Cousins
Right.
at this point is a better football player. But you're gonna give Kirk Cousins 40 million. What does he make? $40 million or something like that? Nah, man. I mean, that's not the Pittsburgh Steelers. Pittsburgh Steelers are not gonna give their quarterback $40 million to go there and be a facilitator and hand the ball off, and because that's what Pittsburgh's about. Although they're
They're
starting to lose
trying to
their
be.
mentality.
Yeah. I mean, but I think they're trying to get it back. I think they're trying to get it back because they've gone away from it, right? Because you and I have been saying, like, what are the Pittsburgh Steelers? Because when you look at identities, How many NFL teams have an identity? I mean, I think the Ravens have one, right?
Ravens,
The
the
Chiefs have
Lions,
one.
the Lions.
Lions. You got to give it to the Chiefs. The Chiefs, they
Yeah,
have their own way, but they know what they do. Opportunistic defense, right? Underrated defense, but Patrick Mahomes, like everything revolves around him. And I don't know if that's necessarily the right way to go about every team, because you know how important it is to build in the trenches and to run the football. But I mean, it's hard to argue with a team that's won multiple Super Bowls.
I think the Eagles will have an identity. I think
I
if
think
you're
they
good in
do.
the trenches, I think you have an identity just automatically.
Buccaneers have one?
No, no.
Really? You don't think the Bucs have
They
an
haven't
identity?
done anything consistently for long enough. They last year was the first year they ran the ball.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Right.
Philadelphia, they're going to run the football, but the Bucs, they got to run the ball 2-3 more years until it becomes second nature. It's not quite second nature yet.
Do you think? Is there any do you have any reservation about going from Liam Cohen to Josh Grizzard as the offensive coordinator, knowing how well the Buccaneers ran the football last year?
Running the football is not rocket science. It's want to. And if you ran the ball well last year, there's no reason why you can't run the ball this year.
Even with the new offensive coordinator?
It's just calling the play. It's all it is.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, you switch from Canales. That my point being, you had Leftwich couldn't run the football, Canales couldn't run the football, Liam Cohen now you can run the football, and then now you have a different name.
I'm going to disagree with you. I think if you go back and look at the two aforementioned coordinators that couldn't run the football, they didn't run the football. Okay, because I think per rushes, I think the Bucs were still up there. We just never ran the football. Okay, Liam Cohen actually pounded a few people, maybe not even enough. That it's a mentality. To be good at running the football is one thing, but to run the football is another. Like the Detroit Lions run the football. The Kansas City Chiefs are good at running the football because everything else there's a lot going on. But the Detroit Lions basically are going to go first, second down, we're coming at you, see if you can stop it. And then we're going to be 3rd and 3, and we're good at 3rd and 3. So I don't know if the Bucs are there, but do that a couple more years in a row, and then, I mean, Baker won't have to be spectacular to win a championship.
Right. So they attempted the 10th most rushes last year.
Yeah, which is odd for the Bucs.
And they averaged 5.3, which is tied for second behind the Ravens. They tied with the Cardinals. Yep. The 2023 regular season, their attempts, they averaged, oh boy, 1, 2, they're way down there. So
way
30,
down
31,
there.
30, 29, 20, 27, 23rd.
Yep.
They averaged 23rd most attempts, and their average was dead last, 3.4. I want to go back 1 year.
That's god awful.
Yeah, one more while I have you here. And then they obviously averaged the worst in 2022 as well. But is that one of those things where it's the chicken? They also and then in 2022, they attempted the least. Mm-hmm. So they've gotten better. So they attempted the least, then 23rd, and then 10th. Yep. But they were last. So that's the thing. Is like, even though they attempted it more in 23, they still were the worst. So I think you also have to look at it too. Well, if you're not rushing the ball that well, you can't keep rushing it too. So correct. I understand there's got to be a mindset of like, you have to want to do it before you actually do it, but you also have to be good at it. So that's why I pose that question is, if you have a new offensive coordinator now, even if you do rush it, let's say 23 times, like let's say you take a step back and you only rush it the 15th most instead of the 10th most, can you still be as effective as you were last year? Because you have a lot of the same pieces in play. Because you have to think the offense with him being here last year, there's going to be at least similarities. It's not going to be exactly the same, but he's going to take a lot of the same concepts from what worked last year, right?
Sure. But, you said, they want to run it better. They ran it, but they want to run it. But you can't become a good running team unless you run it. That's what's hard, okay? You can run the ball twice, and like, we're not running the ball well today. Nope. Keep running it. That's what running teams do. And they became that a little bit last year. In the past, first down run, first down run, done.
Mhm.
Now all of a sudden, a quarterback's throwing the ball 45 times that shouldn't be throwing the ball 45 times. Tom Brady should have been handing the ball off 35 times a game instead of throwing it 45 times with his old ass. Jameis Winston, what the hell you? Why would you have Jameis Winston throw the ball 45 times in any game? I swear to God, Jameis Winston averaged 45 throws a game with the Buccaneers, and if he does throw the ball 45 times, three of them are going to the other team, guaranteed. So I didn't understand it.
Yeah, it doesn't make too much sense. I saw Nakobe Dean coming back from his knee injury for the Eagles. I mean, people talk a lot about all the players that they had. They were without one of their best players on defense, or at least their linebacker Nakobe Dean. And he talked about how in coming back from his knee injury, he used ballet to help him come back. And we've heard certain players over the years use kind of unique ways to get themselves prepared for the season. We saw what Aaron Donald was doing with defending the knife attack and stuff like that. What were some of the things that you heard? Was that something when you were playing that guys found unique ways, whether it was yoga or Pilates or any different kind of outside the normal training methods to get ready for the season?
Well, I wish I'd have done Pilates while I played. I think I'd have been a better football player because Pilates made me understand my core a little bit more. I saw like Irvin Fryer, I know was doing Pilates, or I was into Rolfing back in the day, which is a deep tissue massage to get back.
What is it called?
Rolfing,
Rolfing?
ROLF, Rolfing. Um, Football players will do anything that they think is going to help them. Okay, so I tried everything. I mean, everything. We did boxing. We ran in the pool. We did everything, and it's football players just train. They train a little bit different, and like you hear stories of people drinking urine and stuff like that in sports. If I found out I could drink my urine, then wouldn't be in pain. I'd have been a urine drinking son of a gun. By any means necessary. And it's funny. I didn't take steroids back in the day. There was some people around me that dabbled. But if I played today, I'd be dabbling in something, HGH or some of these things. Yeah. I think all these athletes are on something, or they're silly.
We are looking at a team, and it looks like Aiden Hutchinson is getting back to 100%, and he's looked kind of funky in some of those videos. His leg don't look right, but I look at this Detroit Lions team, and it's hard not to compare them to the Eagles team that lost to the Chiefs in the Super Bowl a couple of years ago, because after that year, the Eagles lost Shane Steichen to the Colts, and they lost Jonathan Gannon to the Cardinals. So you lose your offense coordinator and your defense coordinator. The Lions lose Ben Johnson to the Bears. They lose Aaron Glenn to the New York Jets. And I just wonder what kind of toll that it's going to take on the Detroit Lions. And I wanted to get your insight because this team is built. And the reason why I think it's a good analogy is because, we talked about identities with teams. Like, the Eagles and the Lions, they both put a real onus on offensive line play, defensive line play. How much of an impact do you think that's going to make on the Lions this year, losing both of their coordinators?
Well, I mean, if you talk about mentality, I think the Lions probably have the best mentality in all of football. They have the mentality of their head coach. Aiden Hutchinson, it may be a whole six games, 10 games, could be 12 games where he comes back to. He may not be himself all year. We just don't know. But with a team like the Lions, you can lose your coordinators because they don't do nothing too fancy now. Mm-hmm. The Lions are that's as smash mouth as it comes. And even without Aiden Hutchinson, they were still bringing it. And listen, I love when people. They take a coach, like if Dan Campbell doesn't win this year, they're going to say, well, let's fire Dan Campbell because he can't take him over the hump.
That's what they did with Sirianni.
Well, that's what happens in sports in general. But let me tell people, sports fans out there, okay, timing in sports is a lot. Like last year, it didn't time out well for the Lions. It didn't time out well. They got beat up at the wrong time. Everybody else was getting healthy. You're all beat up, and it didn't time out well. You got to have a little luck. You got to have a little timing, and you got to have a team that can match up against anybody. And I think the Lions have been built that way. The Lions are a rough team that can punch anybody in the mouth. But they could also beat you by 45-42. I've seen them do that. So the Lions have the ability. It's just got to line. It's got to all align.
Yeah, and I look at their schedule, you got to take a look at their schedule. I mean, of course, you got Chicago's getting way better, right? You think that they're building, they're trying to get better with their pieces.
I think it's early. I think it's people talk about Chicago a lot, and it's because of their quarterback. I think it's way too early to say that Chicago's getting better. Chicago reminds me of Atlanta, where it's a good-looking girl at the club, but I don't know if she could cook, dog.
Yeah, we'll see.
It's just everybody's thinking Chicago's going to be it because of Caleb. I am not sold on Caleb. I'm not.
Yeah, I'm more sold on kind of what's around him and like looking at their depth chart, bringing Ben Johnson in, one of the best play callers in the game. But going to get having Roma Dunze in last year's draft, Luther Burden this year's draft, and putting a lot more. They got Joe Tooney, who was the guy that was fantastic with the Kansas City Chiefs on the offensive line. They invested a bunch of first-round picks on the offensive line. They went and got Grady Jarrett to go with Montez Sweat. Like, they're building right in the trenches, which I think is a thing that you want to see if you're a team that's trying to get better. Green Bay is good in that division. They won 11 games last year. Minnesota was 14-3 last year. So those are three, not cakewalks on the road. Here's who Detroit has to play on the road this year, Ian. The Ravens, the Bengals, the Chiefs. They play the Bucs at home. They go to Washington. They go to Philly, and they go to the Rams. Bro, they have 6 of the toughest road games. Like, that is crazy. So if you're right. Timing is everything, right? So, like, you're looking at a year this year. Like, I really wouldn't be surprised if the Lions, they take a step back this year and they have one of those years where we saw with the Eagles, because they lose their coordinators, because of their schedule. And then at the end of the year, people are going to question Dan Campbell. And then it's crazy because I was looking at it the other night. The Knicks beat the Pacers in that game. They're down 20. Everybody's saying Tom Thibodeau sucks. Karl Anthony Towns sucks. Like, and then at the end of the game, everybody's like, oh my God, I can't believe Cat, he scored 20 in the fourth. Tom Thibodeau did such a good job. Like, people are so reactionary. They're so quick to put out their take on what happened. Sometimes you just got to let it all play out, right?
Yeah, man. I mean, that's sport. That's sports in general. And everybody thinks they can be a general manager. Everybody thinks they can be a head coach because they can play Madden. You know what I mean? And things like that. Well, congratulations on your Knicks, by the way. You feel more confident? Seems like they found something.
We'll see. Tonight is another night, man. Listen, I wasn't confident when they were up 2-0 against the Celtics. Well, somebody tells me, they said enjoy the game. I go, bro, what? Yeah, enjoy the game? They won the game the other night, and I didn't enjoy it. What are we talking about here? It's torturous.
Definitely didn't enjoy the first one.
Oh, that was torturous. I mean, that's just the way it goes, man. Like, the Knicks, they grind it out, man. They're never out of it. It's never a dull moment. What a weekend over at the Dignitary Cafe. I was telling a bunch of people yesterday, let everybody know about Sandy, because that shrimp and grits was, you told me it was the best you ever had. I usually, when people are, speaking hyperbole like that, I usually don't listen to them. However, you are not just another person in my life. You're one of my good buds. And when you said that, I go, all right. I looked at the rest of the menu. It looked fantastic, but Sandy goes, when I go to the truck, Sandy goes, so why did you pick? And I go, Ian and I have been talking about, today? No, we've been talking about this for a week. She goes, okay, I got you. She comes in with this. And I took a picture of it. I got to post it on my social media.
Please.
Bro, it was so good. When white people say they don't like grits, you haven't had Miss Sandy's grits. Unbelievable, bro. And not like 2 pieces of shrimp either. Like, she loads it up in there. And you see people cleaning the plate. I think I saw Bert and Lenny licking the plate. Just tell everybody what was going on at the Dignitary Cafe with Miss Sandy, because she crushed it.
Well, she was here Saturday, Sunday, and Monday for the holiday, and we kind of just tried it out a little bit. I've tried Sandy's food. I've been to Arcadia, went to Fussel's Meats, and I've tasted her food before, and she could just flat out cook. So we tried it out for 3 days, and listen, I just sit back and I watch and I observe, and I just watch people's eyes roll up in their head when they usually take the first bite. And a lot of people will say, I'm a foodie, I'm this, I'm that. F a foodie, okay? Because some people say I'm a foodie, they eat at Carrabba's and eat it. No. I love food. And if I say something's the best, I don't play with that. I would put food along with football for me. Like it's that serious. So if I say something's the best at something, I will go get it
Right.
because it's not like I don't look like I could eat and I can throw down a little bit. I can cook. So if I say something's the best, and before that, grits don't have to be fancy. It's not a fancy thing.
Right.
You know who I think had the best grits before I tried her grits? Was Leroy Selman's.
Really? Okay.
Leroy Selman's cheese grits back in the day were top effing notch. Rest in peace. But right now, Sandy's grits are amazing, and no, I didn't hear a complaint all weekend. People went back. Then they got to go trays. We're gonna probably have it here on a consistent basis. We don't know how consistent, but we're gonna make it happen.
Our guy Johnny B ate a plate of food, I think, in front of me, and then took a bag of stuff home. And I was like,
well,
damn.
Do you know how I'm gonna quiz you. Do you know how heavy Johnny B used to be?
No.
Give me a number. How heavy you think he used to be? Higher.
315.
560.
What? 560?
I asked him just yesterday. 560.
Ian, that's
560.
Wow.
A lot of man.
560?
560.
I can't even wrap my head around that.
You can't wrap nothing around 560.
You got that right. You need two belts. Forget 2 chains. You need 2 belts.
Yeah, man.
And God bless him. What is he down to now? Does he say?
He's about 270. About
Good for him, man.
Yeah, man. Half the man, baby.
Bro, I can't even wrap my head around that. I don't even really know how to explain that. What else is going on at the Dignitary Cafe this week, brother?
We're just taking it easy, man. It's a short week, and we're just rocking and rolling, bro. We're still serving the best kava and creative in town, and it's just the place to hang out. That's all.
You got that right. Dignitary Cafe, 4817 Southwest Shore Boulevard. Go check them out. Get you some kava, some kratom. Hit up the Bula fam over there. Yep. And, of course, follow Ian on social media at Ian_Beckles. Beck, appreciate you, brother. I'll see you tomorrow.
One love, kid.
You got it, man. The one and only Ian Beckles.